Well, it's no secret Boeing's been having a bad couple of years. Well, okay, a bad couple of decades. But if any Boeing fans were hoping the plane maker would be catching a break anytime soon, well, the answer to that is no. That's next on Maximus.
You are watching Maximus Aviation.
But before we get to the latest problems plaguing Boeing, I thought we'd take a trip down Boeing's 15-year misery lane, so to speak, beginning in October of 2018. When a brand new Lion Air MAX jet crashed in Indonesia, killing all 189 on board. Then in March of 2019, a brand new Ethiopian Airlines MAX jet crashed, killing all 157 on board. And China was the first in the world to ground the MAX, soon followed by the rest of the world, US FAA being the very last to do so. And then April 2019, the FAA investigated the safety of the MAX as Boeing cuts monthly production by nearly 20%. Then July 2019, Boeing posted its largest ever quarterly loss. October 2019, Boeing fired Kevin McAllister, the head of its commercial airlines division. Then in December of 2019, CEO Dennis Muilenburg was fired. January 2020, Boeing suspended 737 production, its biggest assembly line halt in 20 years. Then in May of 2020, Boeing resumed MAX production, but at a low rate. September 2020, an 18-month U.S. House of Representatives investigation found Boeing failed in its design and development of the MAX, as well as its transparency with the FAA, and also that the FAA failed in their oversight of Boeing. November 2020, the U.S. FAA lifted the grounding order, allowing the MAX to fly again. January 2021, the European Aviation Safety Agency also allowed the MAX to fly in Europe. But in April of 2021, Boeing halted 737 MAX deliveries after an electrical problem ground part of the fleet. Then November 2021, Boeing's board reached a $237.5 million settlement with shareholders to settle lawsuits over safety oversight of the MAX. August 2023, Boeing identified a new MAX quality problem involving improperly drilled holes on the aft pressure bulkhead. January 2024, the mid-air blowout of an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 aircraft prompted the FAA to ground 171 of these jets and initiate an investigation. Then in February 2024, the U.S. published its preliminary report on the Alaska Airlines incident, finding the door panel was missing 4 key bolts Boeing never installed. March 2024, the FAA 737 MAX production audit found instances where Boeing and Spirit Aerosystems failed to comply with manufacturing quality control requirements. Boeing also announced that month that CEO Dave Calhoun will be stepping down, and Stan Deal, Boeing Commercial Airplanes president and CEO, was fired and was succeeded by Stephanie Pope. May 2024, the U.S. DOJ said Boeing breached its obligations in a 2021 agreement that shielded it from criminal prosecution over the MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019. Then in July of 2024, Boeing acquired Spirit Aerosystems. Also, Boeing agreed to plead guilty to a criminal fraud conspiracy charge and pay a fine of $243.6 million to resolve the U.S. DOJ investigation into the 2 737 fatal MAX crashes. And Boeing named former Rockwell Collins executive Kelly Ortberg as its new president and CEO to start in August after a months-long search. And then finally, September 2024, Boeing's Starliner spacecraft failed its first crewed mission, leaving its 2 astronauts marooned on the ISS until February 2025, when a SpaceX Crew Dragon is expected to return them to Earth. And finally, in this month of September 2024, Boeing said it had reached a tentative agreement with a union representing more than 32,000 workers in the U.S. Pacific Northwest, but the contract was rejected by the workers, and the workers said they would be going on strike. And they did, and they are where they'll be until the foreseeable future. And with that, today's video. Well over a week ago now, in the wee hours of Sunday morning, September 8, Boeing announced to the press that they had reached a labor deal with the IAM, or International Association of Machinists Union. A tentative deal that Stephanie Pope, Boeing's chief of commercial airplanes, said was the largest ever general wage increase contract offered, with lower medical, greater retirement benefits, and improvements on a better work life. So with that tentative deal, the union bosses and Boeing bosses were satisfied that the union rank and file would approve the biggest ever offer. However, after brand new rockstar CEO Kelly Ortberg's embarrassing start with Starliner, he was feeling positive about this tentative deal he made with the union to hopefully avoid a long and painful strike. So on the Monday after shaking hands with the union on the deal, Ortberg closed on a house in Seattle's high-end Broadmoor neighborhood to celebrate. When Boeing announced in July that Ortberg will be taking over for former CEO Dave Calhoun, it said he chose to move from his home in West Palm Beach, Florida to Seattle, rather than to the company's Virginia headquarters. And King County records show Ortberg made good on his commitment to living in Washington among Boeing's 67,000 employees. The new Boeing chief purchased a 3,780 square foot house for $4.1 million on Monday, 9 September. I know for most of you that sounds like a lot of money for a little house, but for us here in California that sounds like a deal. The 4-bedroom home is 96 years old according to property records. Broadmoor is a gated residential community with a golf course near the Washington Park Arboretum. However, aviation experts speculate that Ortberg's living in Seattle could be a big sign toward rebuilding Boeing's relationship with the workforce, and an indication that it might be relocating its headquarters back to the Puget Sound region 23 years after it left. Okay, so fast forward 5 days to the voices that really count, and that is the rank-and-file members of the Machinists Union. And even though their bosses and Boeing execs thought this new biggest ever deal was a good deal for the union members, they could not have disagreed more. Boeing Machinists Union members voted by an overwhelming majority to reject management's contract offer and go on strike. Boeing's 33,000 blue-collar workers were instructed to walk out at 12:01 a.m. Friday, September 13, which they did, and were ordered to stay out indefinitely. International Association of Machinists District 751 President John Holden, the guy who agreed to the deal with Boeing the Sunday before, urged members to accept the deal. However, it was he who announced the vote results to raucous cheers and chants of strike, strike, strike to about 80 machinists late Thursday at the union headquarters. And just like that, the union head who was urging members to accept the deal flipped the switch and now he was against it. Holden told the raucous crowd of union members that this is about respect, this is about addressing the past, and this is about fighting for our future. And then he raised a fist and said, "We strike at midnight." Wait. I'm confused. So if he didn't like the deal, why was he telling members to take it? And why did he agree to it in the first place? I'm not familiar with unions. YouTube doesn't have any. So if you're in a union and you know, let me know down below. Holden said 94.6% voted to reject the contract and 96% voted to strike, more than the 2/3 majority required by union rules to authorize a walkout. At the news conference after the announcement, Holden said, "I'm proud of our members, proud of them standing up and fighting for more, for each other, for their families, and for their community. We're going to get back to the table as quickly as we can," he said. "We'll certainly engage so that we can try to resolve the issues and address what the members' needs are." However, especially Boeing, nobody is surprised by the walkout. The union has been threatening the walkout for months now. The main reason workers interviewed gave for rejecting the contract was that the wage increase was far too short of what they wanted. Also, under the tentative agreement, Boeing had promised to build the next commercial jet, the 797 NMA, in the Seattle area, in a bid to win over workers after the company moved the 787 Dreamliner production to a non-union shop in South Carolina. That little tidbit made headlines all over the internet and YouTube last week. However, I didn't run with that, because it was just a head fake by Boeing. I didn't mention that with all the other aviation channels who were giddy about the story because it's not real. Boeing is no closer to the 797 this week than they were 10 years ago. But hey, they gave it a shot. Kind of like presidential candidates promising puppies and rainbows if you just vote for them. And breaking Monday, 16 September, Boeing announced internally that they will be implementing a series of sweeping cost-cutting moves in response to the machinist strike, and said it may temporarily lay off employees, including managers and executives. In the internal memo, Chief Financial Officer Brian West wrote, "I know these actions will create some uncertainty and concern, as well as many questions," adding that we'll be sharing additional information in the coming days, as we have detailed guidance on the implementation. The steps Boeing announced include a hiring freeze, a hold on manager and executive pay increases from promotions, stopping all employees' travel that is not critical, no first or business class air travel for employees, suspending all outside consulting work, no catered meals and food services at Boeing facilities except for customers, suspending charitable donations, pausing all advertising and marketing expenditures, suspending all non-essential spending on new equipment and facilities. Boeing said that it will, however, protect all funding for safety, quality, and direct customer support work. West wrote that these are necessary actions to preserve cash and safeguard our shared future. Our business is in a difficult period, he said. This strike jeopardizes our recovery in a significant way. However, that financial jeopardy is not lost on the union members, and they smell blood in the water, considering the condition Boeing is in presently, and they are probably right that this is the best time they will ever have to get Boeing to cave to their demands. Boeing can't afford a strike of any length right now. They have too many fires burning at once, and more delays and downtime could be the death blow for the once greatest plane maker on Earth. And with that, you're all caught up on the latest Boeing news and nightmares. Now it's your turn to let me know what you think. However, I won't know until you let me know down below. So don't forget to like and subscribe before you go. And until next time, as always, yeah, this is Maximus.